The thunder of hooves against sun-baked earth shattered the afternoon stillness as Declan Edwards rode his chestnut stallion harder than he ever had before, his heart pounding in rhythm with the desperate drumbeat of the horse's gallop across the California plains. The year was 1882, and San Andreas shimmered in the distance like a mirage, the small mining town nestled in the foothills where his family's ranch sprawled across 200 acres of hard-won land. His sister Lily's scream still echoed in his ears from 2 hours ago when her water had broken 3 weeks early, her face pale as moonlight as she clutched her swollen belly. And the local midwife who had promised to attend the birth had fallen from her horse the previous week and broken both arms. Declan's throat burned with dust and fear as he pushed his mount toward the town's only doctor's office, praying anyone with medical knowledge could help. His brother-in-law Thomas had died 6 months ago in a mining accident, leaving Lily a widow at 23, and Declan had sworn on Thomas's grave that he would protect his sister and the baby she carried. The sun beat down mercilessly on his shoulders as he finally reached the main street of San Andreas, pulling his horse to a halt outside the weathered building that served as the doctor's office. He burst through the door without knocking, his spurs jangling against the wooden floorboards. The room was empty except for a woman standing at a cabinet, organizing glass bottles of medicine with practiced efficiency. She turned at his entrance, and even in his panic, Declan registered the striking clarity of her green eyes, the way her dark blonde hair was pulled back in a practical bun, and the capable set of her shoulders beneath her simple gray dress. "I need the doctor," Declan gasped, his chest heaving. "My sister is having her baby, and there is nobody to help her. Where is Dr. Morrison?" The woman stepped forward, her expression calm despite the urgency in his voice. "Dr. Morrison left 3 days ago for Sacramento. There was an outbreak of fever at the lumber camp. I am Bridget O'Brien, his assistant. I have been helping him deliver babies for the past 2 years." Declan's blue eyes searched her face, looking for any sign of hesitation or uncertainty. "You can deliver a baby on your own." "I can and I have," Bridget said firmly, already reaching for her medical bag on the desk. "How far along is she? When did the contractions start?" 2 hours ago, maybe more. The water broke and she was screaming something fierce when I left. She is 3 weeks early." Declan ran a hand through his dark hair, leaving it standing on end. "Please, I will pay whatever you ask." Bridget was already wrapping a shawl around her shoulders despite the heat. "We can discuss payment later. Right now, your sister needs help. How far is your ranch?" 8 miles northwest. "We can make it in 40 minutes if we ride hard." "Then get me a horse. My medical bag is ready." Bridget's voice carried an authority that steadied something frantic in Declan's chest. She moved with purpose, checking the contents of her bag one final time before snapping it shut. Within 5 minutes, they were thundering back across the California landscape, Bridget riding the doctor's mare with the same confidence she had shown in the office. Declan kept glancing at her as they rode, noting the way she sat her horse like someone born to the saddle, her skirts tucked practically around her legs and her face set with determination. The wind whipped strands of her hair loose from the bun, creating a golden halo around her face. "How long have you been in San Andreas?" Declan shouted over the pounding hooves. 6 months, Bridget called back. "I came from San Francisco after my father passed away. Dr. Morrison needed an assistant and I needed a fresh start." There was a story there, Declan sensed, layers of grief and loss that matched his own. But there was no time for questions now as his ranch house came into view, the sturdy 2-story structure he and his father had built before the old man died of pneumonia the previous winter. Smoke rose from the chimney where their housekeeper Maria kept the fires burning, and Declan could hear Lily's cries even from a distance. They dismounted in a cloud of dust, and Declan led Bridget through the house at a run. Maria, a stout Mexican woman in her 50s who had been with the family for 10 years, met them at the stairs. "Thank God," Maria said, her face creased with worry. "She is hurting so much, Senor Declan. I have been with her, but I do not know what to do. The baby is coming fast." Bridget took the stairs 2 at a time, her medical bag swinging at her side. Declan followed her into Lily's bedroom where his sister lay on the bed, her dark hair plastered to her forehead with sweat, her face contorted with pain. When she saw them, tears streamed down her cheeks. "Declan," she sobbed, "the baby is coming. I am so scared." "I know, Lily girl, but I brought help." Declan moved to his sister's side, taking her hand. "This is Miss O'Brien. She is going to deliver your baby." Bridget was already rolling up her sleeves, her eyes assessing the situation with professional calm. "Hello, Lily. My name is Bridget, and you are going to be fine. I need you to trust me and do exactly as I say." "Can you do that?" Lily nodded, another contraction seizing her body. Bridget washed her hands in the basin Maria had prepared, then examined Lily with gentle efficiency. Her expression remained neutral, but Declan saw her jaw tighten slightly. "The baby is breech," Bridget said quietly to Maria, who crossed herself. Then louder to Lily. "Your baby is positioned feet first, which makes things more complicated, but I have delivered breech babies before. You are going to have to be very strong, Lily. Do you understand? Is my baby going to die?" Lily's voice broke on the words. "Is that what you are saying?" "No." Bridget's voice was firm, brooking no argument. "I am saying that we are going to work together to bring this baby into the world safely. Your brother rode 8 miles to fetch me, and I did not come all this way to fail. Now, I need you to focus on my voice and do exactly what I tell you when the next contraction comes." Declan watched as Bridget worked, her hands steady and sure as she spoke to Lily in a calm, encouraging voice that seemed to ease some of the panic from his sister's face. Maria boiled water and brought clean linens while Declan stood at the head of the bed, letting Lily crush his hand with each contraction. The afternoon wore into evening, the golden light through the windows deepening to amber and then purple. Bridget never faltered, never showed fear even as the delivery grew increasingly difficult. She coaxed and encouraged Lily through each push, her hands working with a sureness that spoke of hard-won experience. "The feet are coming," Bridget announced. "Just a little more, Lily." "You are doing beautifully." Declan had seen cattle give birth, had watched mares foal in the barn, but nothing had prepared him for the raw intensity of watching his sister fight to bring new life into the world. And nothing had prepared him for the way he could not take his eyes off Bridget O'Brien. The way she commanded the room with her quiet competence, the way she seemed to pour her own strength into Lily with every word of encouragement. Finally, as the last rays of sunlight faded from the sky, a baby's cry split the air. Bridget lifted a tiny, red-faced infant, working quickly to clear the airways and stimulate breathing. The cry strengthened, and tears poured down Lily's face as Bridget wrapped the baby in a clean blanket. "You have a son," Bridget said, her voice warm with emotion as she placed the baby on Lily's chest. "A perfect, healthy son." Lily sobbed as she cradled the baby against her skin, and Declan felt his own eyes burn with tears he refused to let fall. He touched his nephew's tiny hand, marveling at the delicate fingers that wrapped instinctively around his calloused thumb. "Thomas," Lily whispered. "His name is Thomas after his father." Bridget continued working, delivering the afterbirth and tending to Lily with the same steady care. Only when everything was cleaned up and Lily was resting comfortably with the baby nursing at her breast, did Bridget finally step back, and Declan saw the exhaustion that lined her face. "You saved them both," Declan said, his voice rough. "I do not know how to thank you." Bridget washed her hands again, the water in the basin turning pink. "I am just glad I could help. She did most of the work. Your sister is remarkably strong." "Stay for supper," Maria said from the doorway. "You must be starving, and it is too dark to ride back to town now. We have a guest room where you can rest." Bridget looked like she wanted to refuse, but her stomach growled audibly, and she managed a tired smile. "If it is not too much trouble." "No trouble at all," Declan said quickly. "In fact, I insist. You cannot ride back alone in the dark, and you have more than earned a hot meal and a comfortable bed." They left Lily dozing with the baby, Maria keeping watch over them both, and Declan led Bridget downstairs to the kitchen. The room was large and warm, dominated by a cast iron stove and a sturdy oak table that had seen countless family meals. Bridget sank into a chair with visible relief, while Declan moved around the kitchen with surprising ease, heating up the stew Maria had made earlier and slicing thick pieces of bread. "You cook?" Bridget asked, surprise evident in her voice. "When you live on a ranch, you learn to do a bit of everything," Declan said, ladling stew into 2 bowls. "My mother taught me before she passed, said no son of hers would be helpless in a kitchen." He set the food in front of her and took the seat across the table. For a few minutes, they ate in comfortable silence, the only sounds the clink of spoons against bowls and the crackle of the fire in the stove. Declan found himself studying Bridget in the lamplight, noticing details he had missed in his earlier panic. She was younger than he had first thought, perhaps 25 or 26, with a sprinkling of freckles across her nose and a small scar on her chin. Her hands were small but capable, marked with the kind of work-roughened skin that spoke of a life far removed from the privileged ladies of San Francisco. "You said you came from San Francisco," Declan said, breaking the silence. "That is quite a change, coming to a mining town like San Andreas." Bridget looked up from her bowl, her green eyes guarded. "Sometimes change is necessary. My father was a doctor, and he taught me everything he knew. But when he died, his colleagues made it clear that a woman had no place in medicine, at least not in San Francisco society. Dr. Morrison was different. He believed in my abilities and was willing to give me a chance." "Their loss is our gain," Declan said. "What you did today, turning that baby and delivering him safely, that took real skill. My sister and nephew are alive because of you." A flush crept up Bridget's cheeks. "I only did what I was trained to do." "Maybe so, but training and ability are not always the same thing. I have seen trained doctors who could not handle an emergency to save their lives." Declan leaned back in his chair, cradling his coffee cup. "How long will Dr. Morrison be gone?" He said 2 weeks, possibly 3 depending on how bad the fever outbreak is at the lumber camp. Bridget hesitated, then added, "I am managing the practice while he is away. It has been quiet mostly, just a few minor injuries and ailments. Until I came charging through the door like a madman. You were scared for your sister. That is nothing to be ashamed of." Bridget's smile softened her features, making her look younger. "Family is worth fighting for, worth riding 8 miles in the heat for. Do you have family, Miss O'Brien? Besides your father, I mean." The smile faded from Bridget's face. "No, my mother died when I was 12 and I have no siblings. It was just my father and me, and then it was just me." The loneliness in her voice resonated with something in Declan's chest, a matching emptiness that he had carried since his parents died. He wanted to reach across the table and take her hand, to tell her that he understood what it was like to feel alone even in a room full of people. But they were strangers, bound together only by the crisis that had thrown them into each other's paths, and he had no right to presume familiarity. Instead, he said, "Well, you have friends here now if you want them. What you did today, that is the kind of thing we do not forget. You will always be welcome at the Edwards Ranch." Bridget met his eyes, and something passed between them in that moment, a recognition that went deeper than words. "Thank you," she said softly. "That means more than you know." Maria came downstairs then, her face beaming. "The baby is perfect, and Lily is sleeping like an angel. You should see her, so peaceful with that little one in her arms." She turned to Bridget. "I have prepared the guest room for you, Miss O'Brien, clean sheets and a pitcher of fresh water." "You are very kind, Maria. Thank you." Declan showed Bridget upstairs to the guest room, carrying her medical bag for her. The room was small but comfortable, with a quilt-covered bed and a window that overlooked the ranch. He set her bag on the dresser and turned to find her standing close enough that he could smell the faint scent of lavender soap beneath the sharper smells of medicine and birthing. "Get some rest," Declan said, his voice coming out rougher than he intended. "You have earned it 10 times over." "Your sister will need care over the next few days," Bridget said. "I should stay tomorrow to make sure there are no complications. If that is all right with you." "More than all right. I would be grateful." Declan realized he was standing in the doorway of her bedroom like a fool, unable to make himself leave. "Good night, Miss O'Brien." "Bridget," she corrected. "After today, I think we can dispense with formalities. Good night, Declan." The sound of his name on her lips sent warmth spreading through his chest. He forced himself to step back into the hallway, closing the door gently behind him. As he walked to his own room at the end of the hall, he tried to tell himself that what he was feeling was just gratitude, relief that his sister and nephew were safe. But he knew it was more than that. Had known it from the moment Bridget had turned around in Dr. Morrison's office and met his eyes with that calm, steady gaze. He lay awake for a long time that night, listening to the sounds of the house settling, the soft murmur of Maria checking on Lily, and once, the creak of floorboards that told him Bridget was awake too, probably checking her medical bag or thinking through the events of the day. The moonlight slanted through his window, painting silver stripes across the floor, and Declan found himself thinking about green eyes and capable hands, and a voice that could calm even the worst panic. When he finally slept, he dreamed of a woman with golden hair riding beside him across the ranch, laughing at something he said, her face bright with joy. Morning came with the crow of the rooster and the smell of coffee drifting up from the kitchen. Declan dressed quickly and headed downstairs to find Bridget already awake, sitting at the table with a cup of coffee and a plate of eggs. She had changed into a fresh dress, this one a soft blue that made her eyes look like summer grass, and her hair was once again neatly pinned. "Maria said Lily had a good night," Bridget said as Declan poured himself coffee. "The baby nursed well and they both slept for several hours. That is an excellent sign." "Thanks to you." Declan sat down across from her, accepting the plate of food Maria slid in front of him. "I checked on them first thing. Lily looks 100 times better than yesterday. She is young and healthy. With proper rest and nutrition, she should recover well." Bridget sipped her coffee, studying him over the rim of the cup. "You run this ranch yourself, mostly." "I have 3 ranch hands who help with the cattle and horses. We run about 200 head of cattle and breed horses for the mines and lumber camps. It is hard work, but it is honest and the land is good." Pride crept into Declan's voice. "My father and I built this place from nothing. When we arrived in California in 1868, this was just open land. Now we have one of the best ranches in the county. You should be proud. It is clear you have put your heart into this place." Bridget glanced around the well-kept kitchen, the sturdy furniture and clean floors. And you take good care of it. A ranch this size does not run itself. Between managing the hands, caring for the stock, and keeping the buildings in repair, there is always something that needs doing. Declan paused, then added, Lily has been helping with the books and managing the household, but with the baby, she will have her hands full for a while. Maria does her best, but she is not getting any younger. He had not meant to make it sound like a complaint, but Bridget's expression turned thoughtful. Before she could respond, Maria hurried into the kitchen, her face flushed. Lily is asking for you both, Maria said. The baby is fussing and she is worried something is wrong. They followed Maria upstairs to find Lily propped up in bed, tears streaming down her face as she tried to soothe the crying infant. I cannot get him to stop, she said, her voice breaking. What if something is wrong? What if I am doing it wrong? Bridget moved to the bed with calm efficiency, gently taking the baby and unwrapping the blanket. Her hands moved over the infant with practiced skill, checking everything while making soft, soothing sounds. After a moment, she laughed softly. He is hungry, that is all. A perfectly healthy, hungry baby boy. Bridget handed Thomas back to Lily. Try nursing him on the other side. Sometimes babies get fussy when they are not latching properly. Lily did as instructed, and almost immediately the crying stopped as the baby began to nurse. Lily looked up at Bridget with such relief that Declan felt his throat tighten. I do not know what I am doing, Lily confessed. I thought it would be natural that I would just know, but I am terrified of everything. What if I hurt him? What if something goes wrong? Bridget sat on the edge of the bed, her expression gentle. Every new mother feels this way, Lily. It is perfectly normal. You are learning, and so is he. Be patient with yourself. She glanced at Declan, then back at Lily. If you want, I can stay for a few days, just until you feel more confident. I can teach you what to watch for, how to care for him properly. Would you? Hope bloomed in Lily's face. I would feel so much better if you were here, just for a little while. Of course. Bridget touched the baby's downy head with a tenderness that made Declan's heart squeeze. I will send word to town that I am staying to care for a patient. That way no one will worry. Declan followed Bridget out into the hallway when she left Lily to rest. Are you sure about this? I do not want to impose on you. You are not imposing. This is what I do. Bridget tilted her head, studying him. Besides, Lily needs someone right now, and you cannot teach her what she needs to know. I can. Then I will ride into town and let Dr. Morrison's office know where you are. Is there anything you need from town? My other dresses and my medical books. They are in my room above the office. The landlady, Mrs. Chen, will let you in if you tell her it is for me. Bridget pulled a key from her pocket and handed it to him. And perhaps some more supplies from the general store. I will write you a list. An hour later, Declan was riding back toward San Andreas with Bridget's list tucked in his pocket. The morning was already hot, the California sun beating down on the dusty road. As he rode, his mind turned over the events of the past day, the way his life had suddenly changed direction. Yesterday morning, he had been a rancher focused on cattle and horses and keeping his ranch running. Now, he could not stop thinking about a woman with green eyes and gentle hands who had walked into his life like fate. In town, he stopped first at the general store, where old Mr. Peterson raised his eyebrows at the list of medical supplies and women's necessities. Heard you got yourself a midwife out at the ranch, Peterson said, wrapping the purchases in brown paper. Word is Miss O'Brien delivered Lily's baby. That true? News traveled fast in a small town. It is true. My sister had a son, and Miss O'Brien saved both their lives. She is a good woman, that Miss O'Brien. Folks were skeptical at first, a woman doing doctor's work, but she has won people over. fixed up the Miller boy's broken arm better than Dr. Morrison could have, and she sat up 3 nights straight with the Henderson baby when he had the croup. Peterson tied the package with string. "You tell your sister congratulations from me and the missus." "I will, thank you." Declan paid for the supplies and headed to the building that housed Dr. Morrison's office. He climbed the stairs to the small apartment above, where Mrs. Chen, a tiny Chinese woman with shrewd eyes, led him into Bridget's room after he explained the situation. The room was sparse but neat, with a narrow bed, a dresser, and a small desk covered with medical books. Declan found Bridget's dresses hanging in the wardrobe and carefully packed them in the bag she had indicated, feeling strange handling her personal belongings. On the desk, he noticed a photograph in a simple frame, a stern-looking man in a doctor's coat standing beside a young woman who could only be Bridget, perhaps 10 years younger. Her father, Declan assumed, and he wondered what it had been like for her, losing the only family she had. He gathered her medical books, surprised by the weight and number of them, and added them to the bag. As he was leaving, Mrs. Chen stopped him. "You take good care of Miss Bridget," the old woman said firmly. "She is a good girl, works too hard, does not take care of herself enough. She needs people to look after her too." "I will," Declan promised and meant it. The ride back to the ranch seemed to take forever, though his horse maintained a steady pace. When he finally arrived, he found Maria in the kitchen preparing lunch while Bridget sat with Lily, showing her how to bathe the baby. The sight of Bridget leaning over the basin, her sleeves rolled up, and her face soft with concentration as she guided Lily's hands, made something shift in Declan's chest. "You are back," Bridget said, looking up with a smile. "Did you have any trouble?" "None at all. I have your things in the guest room." Declan set the packages on the table, then moved to peer at his nephew who was squirming in the warm water. "He is so tiny." "He will grow fast enough," Lily said, her hands gentle on the baby's slippery skin. "Bridget says he is perfect, no problems at all." "Because he is perfect," Bridget confirmed. "Strong and healthy. You did well, Lily." Over the next few days, a routine developed. Bridget spent most of her time with Lily and the baby, teaching Lily everything from nursing positions to how to tell if the baby was getting enough milk. Declan found excuses to be nearby, lingering in the hallway or stopping by with offers of tea or food. He watched Bridget work with quiet admiration, noting the way she balanced firmness with gentleness, how she could be both teacher and friend. In the evenings, after Lily had fallen asleep exhausted and the baby was quiet, Bridget would join Declan on the porch. They sat in the rocking chairs his father had made, watching the sun set over the hills, and talked about everything and nothing. Bridget told him about growing up in San Francisco, about watching her father work and begging him to teach her medicine. Declan told her about building the ranch, about the struggles and triumphs, the years of hard work that had turned raw land into something beautiful. "You ever regret it?" Bridget asked one evening, her face gilded by the sunset. "Staying here instead of going somewhere bigger, somewhere with more opportunities?" "Never." Declan's answer was immediate and certain. "This land, this ranch, it is in my blood now. I cannot imagine living anywhere else, being anyone else." He paused. "What about you? Do you regret leaving San Francisco?" Bridget was quiet for a long moment, rocking gently back and forth. "I thought I would. San Francisco was all I knew and leaving felt like giving up. But now, being here, I think maybe I needed this. In the city, I was always my father's daughter, always trying to prove myself to people who had already decided I was not good enough. Here, I am just Bridget, and people judge me by what I can do, not by what I am." "You are more than good enough," Declan said fiercely. "Anyone who cannot see that is a fool." Bridget turned to look at him, her eyes wide and shining in the fading light. "Thank you for that." The air between them felt charged, heavy with unspoken words. Declan wanted to reach for her hand, to pull her close and kiss her until neither of them could think straight. But it was too soon, too fast, and he did not want to scare her away with the intensity of what he was feeling. Instead, he said, "Tell me about your favorite medical case, the one you are most proud of." Bridget launched into a story about a difficult childbirth in San Francisco, her voice animated as she described the complications and how she had handled them. Declan listened, watching the way her hands moved as she talked, the way her whole face lit up when she spoke about medicine. He could have sat there forever, just listening to her voice and watching the sunset paint her hair gold and copper. On the 5th day of Bridget's stay, Declan was in the barn checking on a mare that was due to foal when he heard the thunder of approaching hooves. He stepped out into the yard to see 3 men on horseback riding toward the house. He recognized them immediately as some of the rougher elements from town, men who spent more time drinking and gambling than working. "Can I help you?" Declan called out, his hand instinctively moving toward the rifle he kept propped by the barn door. The leader, a thick-necked man named Garrett, dismounted with a sneer. "Heard you got the lady doctor staying here. We got a man hurt bad in town, needs tending. You need to send her back." "Miss O'Brien is caring for my sister and newborn nephew," Declan said evenly. "If someone is hurt, they can ride out to the lumber camp where Dr. Morrison is working. That is 2 days' ride. Our friend does not have 2 days. Garrett spat into the dust. "The lady needs to come now." Before Declan could respond, Bridget appeared on the porch, her face set with determination. "What is the nature of the injury?" "Knife wound to the gut, got into a fight at the saloon," one of the other men called out. "He is bleeding bad." Bridget's jaw tightened. "Knife wounds to the abdomen are extremely serious. He needs to be transported carefully to the doctor's office where I have proper supplies and equipment. Moving him roughly could kill him." "So you will come?" Garrett took a step toward the porch. "I will come, but we do this my way." Bridget's voice was hard as steel. "You ride back to town and prepare a clean space in the doctor's office. Boil water, lay out clean sheets. I will follow within the hour with proper supplies." "Now wait just a minute," Declan said, moving to stand at the base of the porch steps. "You cannot go alone, I will come with you." "Your sister needs you here," Bridget said, but her eyes were grateful. "I can handle this." "Like hell you can." Declan turned to Garrett. "You heard the lady. Get back to town and do what she said. We will be right behind you." The men exchanged glances, but something in Declan's tone made them mount up without argument. As they rode away, Bridget hurried back inside to gather her medical bag. Lily appeared at the top of the stairs, the baby in her arms. "What is happening?" Lily asked, worry creasing her forehead. "There is an emergency in town," Bridget said, checking her supplies. "A knife wound, I have to go." "But you will come back." Lily's voice was small, frightened. "I still need your help." Bridget climbed the stairs and took Lily's hand. "I will come back, I promise." "You are doing wonderfully with Thomas. You do not need me as much as you think you do. But yes, I will return as soon as I can." 15 minutes later, Declan and Bridget were riding hard toward San Andreas. Declan kept glancing at Bridget, worried about the grim set of her mouth. "Tell me honestly," he said as they rode. "Can you save him?" "I do not know. Knife wounds to the abdomen are unpredictable. It depends on what was hit, how much blood he has lost, whether infection has already set in." Bridget's hands were tight on the reins, "But I have to try." They reached town in record time, and Declan helped Bridget carry her supplies into the doctor's office where a man lay on the examination table, his shirt soaked with blood. Garrett and his friends hovered nearby, their faces pale. "Everyone out except one person to assist me," Bridget ordered, rolling up her sleeves. "Declan, I need you to stay. Me, I do not know anything about medicine. You know how to follow orders and you do not look like you are going to faint. That is all I need." Bridget was already examining the wound, her face professional and detached. "The rest of you wait outside." For the next 3 hours, Declan followed Bridget's instructions, handing her instruments, holding the patient still when he thrashed, wiping blood and sweat from her forehead when she asked. He watched her work with a kind of awe, seeing the absolute focus and skill she brought to the operating table. She was magnificent, her hands steady even when the patient's breathing grew shallow and his pulse thready. Finally, after what felt like an eternity, Bridget stepped back and peeled off her blood-soaked apron. "The wound is closed and cleaned. If infection does not set in, he might survive, but it will be touch and go for the next few days." Declan caught her as she swayed with exhaustion. "You need to rest." "I need to watch him through the night," Bridget said, but her eyes were already half closed. "If fever sets in, I need to be here. Then I will watch with you." Declan guided her to a chair. "I will get coffee and food, and we will take turns keeping watch. You are no good to anyone if you collapse from exhaustion." Bridget did not argue, which told Declan how tired she truly was. He left her sitting by the patient's bedside and went to the restaurant down the street, returning with sandwiches and a pot of strong coffee. They ate in silence, listening to the patient's labored breathing. "You were amazing today," Declan said quietly. "The way you handled that surgery, I have never seen anything like it. It is what I was trained for." But Bridget's voice was warm with pleasure at the compliment. "Thank you for staying. I know it was not easy to watch. I would not have been anywhere else." Declan reached out and took her hand, and this time she did not pull away. Her fingers were small and cold in his, and he rubbed them gently to warm them. "You save lives, Bridget. That is an incredible gift. Sometimes I can save them, sometimes I cannot." Bridget looked down at their joined hands. "That is the hardest part, knowing that no matter how skilled I become, there will always be cases I cannot fix, people I cannot help. But you try. That is what matters." They sat together through the long night, sometimes talking, sometimes just sitting in comfortable silence. The patient's fever rose around midnight, and Bridget worked to bring it down with cool cloths and careful doses of medicine. Declan helped, learning to take a pulse and check breathing, marveling at the wealth of knowledge Bridget carried in her head. As dawn broke over San Andreas, painting the sky pink and gold, the patient's fever finally broke and his breathing eased. Bridget checked his bandages one more time, then slumped back in her chair with a relieved sigh. "He's going to make it," she said, her voice thick with exhaustion and triumph. "He actually is going to make it." Declan pulled her to her feet and into his arms before he could think better of it. Bridget stiffened for a moment, then melted against him, her face pressed into his chest. He could feel her trembling, the adrenaline and exhaustion finally catching up with her. "You are incredible," Declan murmured into her hair. "Absolutely incredible." Bridget pulled back just enough to look up at him, and Declan forgot how to breathe. Her green eyes were luminous in the early morning light, her face soft and vulnerable in a way he had never seen before. He cupped her cheek with one hand, his thumb brushing across her skin. "Declan," she whispered, and he did not know if it was a question or a plea. He lowered his head slowly, giving her time to pull away if she wanted. But she did not pull away. Instead, she rose on her toes to meet him, and when their lips touched, it felt like coming home. The kiss was soft and sweet, full of promise and possibility, and when they finally pulled apart, Declan was shaking. "I have been wanting to do that since the moment I saw you," he admitted, his voice rough. "I was hoping you would." Bridget smiled, her face radiant despite the exhaustion. But we should probably not do it again in front of our patient. Declan laughed, the sound bubbling up from deep in his chest. Fair enough. But later, when there are no patients or medical emergencies, I fully intend to kiss you properly. I will hold you to that. Bridget touched his face, her fingers tracing the line of his jaw. But first, I need to sleep for about 12 hours and you need to get back to your ranch. Come back with me. You can sleep in the guest room and when you wake up we can have dinner together. A real dinner, just the two of us. Declan caught her hand and pressed a kiss to her palm. Please, Bridget. I know it is fast, but I need you to understand something. What I feel for you, it is not just gratitude or admiration, though God knows I feel both those things. You have turned my world upside down in the best possible way, and I do not want to let you go. Bridget's eyes filled with tears. I feel it too. I have been trying to tell myself it is too soon, that I barely know you, but Declan, when I am with you, I feel like I have finally found where I am supposed to be. Then come home with me. Not forever, not yet, but just for today. Let me take care of you the way you have been taking care of everyone else. All right, Bridget agreed softly. Yes, I will come home with you. They left the patient in the care of Mrs. Chen, who promised to send for Bridget if there were any changes, and rode back to the ranch in the golden morning light. Declan could not stop glancing at Bridget, at the way the sun turned her hair to spun gold and painted roses in her cheeks. She caught him looking and smiled, that private, intimate smile that was just for him. At the ranch, Maria took one look at them and bustled Bridget upstairs to the guest room with orders to sleep as long as she needed. Declan checked on Lily and the baby, finding them both content and healthy, then tried to focus on ranch work. But his mind kept drifting upstairs, wondering if Bridget was sleeping, if she was dreaming, if she was thinking about him the way he could not stop thinking about her. He was mucking out stalls when one of his ranch hands, a young man named Pete, found him. Boss, we got a problem with the fence on the north pasture. Looks like someone cut it deliberate. Declan swore under his breath. Fence cutting was a serious problem, often a precursor to cattle rustling. Show me. He spent the afternoon riding the property line, examining the damage and helping his men repair the fence. It was hard, hot work, and by the time he returned to the house, he was covered in dust and sweat. He washed up at the pump outside, then headed into the kitchen to find Bridget sitting at the table with Lily, the baby sleeping peacefully in a basket at their feet. There you are, Lily said, her face bright with happiness. Bridget has been telling me about delivering twins in San Francisco. I cannot imagine how difficult that must have been. Difficult but rewarding, Bridget said, her eyes finding Declan across the room. How did the fence repairs go? Finished for now, though I am worried about who cut them and why. Declan poured himself a glass of water and drained it in one long swallow. I will have the men ride patrol tonight just to be safe. Is it dangerous? Bridget's concern was evident in her voice. Could be. Cattle rustlers have been hitting ranches to the south. I was hoping they would not come this far north, but cutting fences is a warning sign. Declan did not want to worry the women, but they deserved to know the truth. We will be careful. Dinner that night was a boisterous affair, with Lily insisting on joining them at the table despite Bridget's protests that she should still be resting. Maria had outdone herself, preparing roast chicken and potatoes, fresh bread and apple pie. They ate and talked, the conversation flowing easily, and Declan felt a contentment he had not known in years. After dinner, while Maria cleaned up and Lily took the baby upstairs to nurse, Declan finally got his chance to be alone with Bridget. They walked out to the barn together, ostensibly so Declan could check on the mare that was due to foal. But when they reached the barn, Declan pulled Bridget into an empty stall and kissed her the way he had been wanting to all day. This kiss was not soft or gentle. It was hungry and demanding, full of the need that had been building between them. Bridget made a small sound in the back of her throat and wrapped her arms around his neck, kissing him back with equal passion. They broke apart breathing hard, and Declan rested his forehead against hers. "I am falling for you," he said, the words torn from somewhere deep inside. "I know it is crazy, I know it is too fast, but I cannot help it. You are everything I did not know I was looking for." "It is crazy," Bridget agreed, her hands fisted in his shirt. "But I am falling too. I have been alone for so long, Declan, and suddenly with you, I do not feel alone anymore. I feel like I have found something precious, something worth holding onto with both hands." "Then hold on," Declan urged, framing her face with his hands. "Hold on and do not let go. Stay here with me, with us. Not just for a few more days, but really stay. Make this your home." "I cannot just abandon the doctor's office," Bridget protested weakly. "Dr. Morrison is counting on me, so we will figure it out. Maybe Dr. Morrison can come out here once a week for office hours, and you can handle emergencies from the ranch. Or maybe we can set up a small clinic here. San Andreas is growing, and the ranch is central to several homesteads. People could come here for medical care." Declan was improvising, saying anything to keep her from leaving. "All I know is that I need you in my life, Bridget O'Brien, and I will do whatever it takes to make that happen." Bridget's eyes searched his face, looking for doubt or uncertainty. But Declan let her see everything he was feeling, all the hope and desire and bone-deep certainty that she was meant to be his. Finally, slowly, she smiled. "All right," she said. "I will stay. I will talk to Dr. Morrison when he returns, work out an arrangement. But yes, I want to stay here with you." Declan kissed her again, softer this time, a kiss full of promise and new beginnings. They stood together in the barn as the sun set outside, painting the world in shades of gold and amber, and Declan knew that his life had just changed in the best possible way. Over the next 2 weeks, Bridget divided her time between the ranch and the doctor's office in town. True to his word, Declan helped her set up a small clinic in one of the unused rooms of the ranch house, complete with a proper examining table and supplies. Word spread quickly that the lady doctor was available for emergencies, and soon people from neighboring ranches and homesteads were stopping by for treatment. Lily recovered fully from the birth, blooming into motherhood with Bridget's patient guidance. The baby thrived, growing bigger and stronger each day, and the entire household seemed to revolve around the tiny tyrant who demanded attention at all hours. Declan discovered he had a knack for soothing his nephew, walking the floor with Thomas during the rare times when Lily needed a break. When Dr. Morrison finally returned from the lumber camp, he took one look at the arrangement Bridget and Declan had worked out and gave his blessing immediately. "You are wasted in a small town office," he told Bridget. "Out here, you can really make a difference. And I am too old to be riding out to ranches for every emergency. This way, we can cover twice as much ground." With that settled, Bridget moved her belongings permanently to the Edwards ranch. She took over the guest room, though Declan noted with amusement that she spent most of her time either in the clinic or with him. They fell into a rhythm, working side by side during the day and spending evenings on the porch, talking and dreaming about the future. 3 months after the night Thomas was born, Declan took Bridget riding across the ranch to a spot overlooking a valley where wildflowers grew in riotous profusion. They dismounted and sat on a blanket Declan had packed, eating the lunch Maria had prepared and watching eagles soar overhead. "I have been thinking," Declan said, his heart pounding so hard he was sure Bridget could hear it, "about us, about the future. I have been thinking about that too. Bridget's smile was soft. About what it means that I am happier here than I have ever been anywhere else. Marry me. The words burst out of Declan before he could second-guess himself. I know we have not been courting long by conventional standards, but Bridget, I love you. I love your strength and your compassion and the way you can deliver a baby in the morning and then help me repair a fence in the afternoon without batting an eye. I love how you have become part of this ranch, part of my family. I do not want to imagine my life without you in it. Bridget's eyes filled with tears. Yes, she said simply. Yes, Declan, I will marry you. I love you too, so much it scares me sometimes. You have given me everything I thought I lost when my father died: a home, a purpose, a family. I want to spend the rest of my life building something beautiful with you. Declan pulled a ring from his pocket, a simple gold band set with a small emerald that matched her eyes. He had bought it in Sacramento the previous week, riding 2 days each way just to find the perfect stone. He slipped it onto her finger, then pulled her close for a kiss that was interrupted by her laughter. "What is so funny?" Declan asked, grinning against her lips. "I am just so happy," Bridget said, kissing him again. "I never thought I could feel this way, this complete." "Thank you for finding me, Declan Edwards. Thank you for delivering my nephew and staying to deliver my heart," Declan said, making her laugh again. They were married 6 weeks later in the small church in San Andreas, with half the town turning out to witness the ceremony. Lily stood as Bridget's attendant, the baby in her arms, while Declan's ranch foreman Jake stood up as his best man. Bridget wore a simple white dress that Maria had helped her sew, with wildflowers in her hair, and Declan thought she had never looked more beautiful. The reception was held at the ranch, with tables set up in the yard and more food than they could possibly eat. People danced to fiddle music as the sun set, and when Declan finally got to dance with his new wife, holding her close as they swayed to a slow waltz, he felt like the luckiest man alive. "Happy?" he murmured into her hair. "Happier than I have words for," Bridget replied, tilting her head back to look at him. "This feels like a dream, but if it is, I never want to wake up." "Not a dream," Declan promised. "This is real, and it is just the beginning." The first year of their marriage was not without its challenges. Running a ranch and a medical practice simultaneously meant long hours and occasional conflicts. When a sick cow needed attention at the same time a laboring mother showed up at the clinic, Declan and Bridget had to learn to prioritize and trust each other to handle their respective responsibilities. But they weathered each challenge together, growing stronger as a couple with each obstacle overcome. Bridget proved to be as capable with ranch work as she was with medicine, often helping Declan with the books or lending a hand during busy seasons. Declan, in turn, became a skilled assistant during medical emergencies, able to anticipate what Bridget needed before she asked. Lily continued to live with them, and Declan could not have been more grateful. She managed the household while Bridget worked, freeing up time for both of them. And as Thomas grew from infant to toddler, he became the heart of the ranch, his laughter echoing through the house and bringing joy to everyone he encountered. One evening, about 14 months into their marriage, Bridget came to find Declan in the barn where he was brushing down one of the horses. She had a strange expression on her face, somewhere between nervous and excited, and Declan immediately put down the brush. "What is wrong? Is someone hurt?" "No, nothing is wrong." Bridget twisted her hands together. "At least, I do not think anything is wrong. I am actually quite happy about it, though I suppose I should have expected it eventually, given, well, everything." Declan laughed and pulled her into his arms. "Bridget, you are rambling. Just tell me." She took a deep breath and blurted out, "I am pregnant. We are going to have a baby." Declan felt like the world had tilted on its axis. A baby, we are going to have a baby, in about 7 months, yes. Bridget searched his face anxiously. Are you happy? I know we have not really talked about children yet, and things are so busy with the ranch and the practice, but Declan cut her off with a kiss that left them both breathless. Happy does not begin to cover it, he said when he finally pulled back. Bridget, you have just made me the happiest man in California. A baby. Our baby. The pregnancy progressed smoothly, with Bridget continuing to work almost up until her due date despite Declan's worried hovering. She delivered a healthy baby boy in the spring of 1884, with Maria attending as midwife since Bridget could hardly deliver her own child. They named him William, after Declan's father, and called him Will. Declan held his son for the first time with tears streaming down his face, marveling at the tiny fingers and perfect features. He is beautiful, Declan whispered, looking up at Bridget with wonder. You are amazing. You know that. Absolutely amazing. I had help, Bridget said drowsily, her face flushed and happy. You were there the whole time, holding my hand and telling me I could do it, because you could and you did. Declan bent to kiss her forehead, then gazed back down at his son. Hello, Will. Welcome to the Edwards Ranch. You are going to love it here. As Will grew, the ranch flourished. Declan expanded the cattle operation and started breeding horses seriously, gaining a reputation for quality stock. Bridget's medical practice grew as well, with people traveling from miles around to see the lady doctor who could handle everything from delivering babies to setting broken bones to treating fevers. They added 2 more children to their family over the next 5 years. A daughter named Grace in 1886, and another son named Henry in 1888. The house that had once seemed too large echoed with the sounds of children's laughter, the patter of small feet running through the hallways. Lily remarried in 1887 to a widower from Sacramento, a kind man named Robert who adopted Thomas and gave him a brother and sister. She moved to Sacramento but visited often, and the bond between the sisters-in-law remained strong. Thomas grew up spending summers at the ranch, learning to ride and rope alongside his cousins. One evening in the fall of 1889, Declan and Bridget sat on the porch watching the sun set while their children played in the yard. Will, now 5, was showing 3-year-old Grace how to whistle, while baby Henry dozed in Bridget's arms. Maria was singing in the kitchen as she prepared dinner, and the sounds of ranch life provided a familiar symphony in the background. You ever think about that first night? Bridget asked, her head resting on Declan's shoulder. When you came charging into the doctor's office like your life depended on it. All the time, Declan admitted. I think about how terrified I was, how desperate, and how seeing you standing there felt like providence. Like fate had decided to cut me a break for once. I was so nervous, Bridget confessed. I kept telling myself I could handle it, that I had delivered breech babies before, but inside I was terrified. What if I could not save them? What if I failed? But you did not fail. You saved them both, and then you saved me. Declan pressed a kiss to her temple. I was so lost before you came, Bridget. I did not even realize how much I needed someone until you walked into my life. We saved each other, Bridget corrected softly. You gave me a home and a family and a place to belong. You let me be myself, all of myself, without trying to change me or limit me. Why would I ever want to change you? You are perfect exactly as you are. Declan shifted Henry carefully so he could put his arm around Bridget. Do you ever regret it? Giving up the city, the chance to work in a real hospital? Never. Bridget's answer was immediate and certain. I have everything I ever wanted right here. A husband I love, children who make every day an adventure, work that matters, and a community that values what I can do. How could I possibly want anything more? We could always have more children, Declan teased, making her laugh. Let us see how these three turn out first, Bridget said, but her eyes were warm with affection. Though I would not be opposed to one more eventually. Will came running up to the porch then, his face dirty and his hair standing on end. Papa, can we go fishing tomorrow, please? Uncle Jake said there are big fish in the creek. If your mother says it is all right, we can go fishing, Declan said, ruffling his son's hair. But only if you finish your chores first thing in the morning. I will, I promise. Will dashed off to tell his sister the good news, his excitement palpable. He is so much like you, Bridget observed. That same determination, that same love for this land. And Grace has your stubbornness and your compassion, Declan countered. She was trying to bandage a grasshopper yesterday because she thought it looked hurt. They laughed together, the sound carrying across the yard. As the stars began to appear overhead, one by one, Declan thought about the journey that had brought them to this moment. From a desperate ride to find a midwife to building a life together, every step had been worth it. What are you thinking about? Bridget asked, always able to read his moods. About how lucky I am, Declan said honestly. About how one day of panic and fear led to the best decision I ever made. About how I love you more now than I did the day we married, and I did not think that was possible. Bridget turned her face up to his, her green eyes luminous in the gathering darkness. I love you too, Declan Edwards, more than I have words to express. Thank you for riding into town that day, for trusting me with your sister, for giving me a chance to prove myself. Thank you for staying, Declan replied, for taking a chance on a dusty cowboy and his sister, for making this ranch into a home, for being my partner in everything. They kissed softly, a kiss full of love and promise and shared history. When they pulled apart, Grace had climbed up onto the porch and was tugging at Bridget's skirt. Mama, I am hungry, she announced. When is dinner? Soon, sweetheart. Bridget handed Henry to Declan and stood, taking Grace's hand. Let us go help Maria set the table. Declan watched his wife and daughter disappear into the house, heard their voices joining Maria's in the kitchen. He looked down at Henry, who was beginning to wake up, his tiny face scrunching in preparation for a cry. Declan stood and began walking the length of the porch, bouncing gently the way he had learned with Will. "Shh, little man, dinner is almost ready and then your mother will feed you." Henry's eyes, already turning the same blue as Declan's own, focused on his father's face. You are going to love growing up here, Henry. We have the best ranch in all of California and the best mother a boy could ask for. Your mama is special, son. She is the bravest, smartest, most beautiful woman I have ever known, and she loves you more than anything. Will came back onto the porch, followed by Grace, and together the children helped Declan call everyone in for dinner. The family gathered around the large table in the dining room, the one Declan and his father had built years ago, and joined hands for Grace. As he looked around at the faces of the people he loved most in the world, Declan felt his throat tighten with emotion. This was what he had been working toward all those years, though he had not known it. Not just a successful ranch or financial security, but this. A table full of family, a house full of love, and a partner who stood beside him through everything life threw their way. After dinner, while Bridget nursed Henry and the older children played quietly in the parlor, Declan stepped outside for a moment of quiet reflection. The night was clear and cool, the stars blazing overhead in that way they only did far from city lights. He heard the door open behind him and smiled as Bridget joined him, wrapping a shawl around her shoulders. "The children are in bed?" Declan asked, slipping an arm around her waist. Finally. Grace wanted 3 stories instead of 1, and Will was convinced there was a monster under his bed. Bridget leaned into him with a contented sigh. Henry is already asleep again, full belly and a clean diaper. We might actually get a few hours of peace tonight. Or we could not waste those hours on sleep, Declan suggested, his voice dropping to a suggestive rumble that made Bridget laugh. You are insatiable, Declan Edwards. Only for you. He turned her in his arms so they were face to face. I meant what I said earlier. I fall more in love with you every single day. You are my everything, Bridget, and you are mine. Bridget rose on her toes to kiss him, soft and sweet. Come to bed, husband. Let me show you how much I love you. They went inside together, locking up the house and checking on each sleeping child before retiring to their own room. As they made love that night, slow and tender, Declan marveled once again at how perfectly they fit together, how right everything felt when he was with Bridget. Afterwards, as they lay tangled together in the darkness, Bridget traced lazy patterns on Declan's chest. Do you remember what you said to me that first night, when you insisted I stay for dinner? I said a lot of things that night. Which particular thing are you remembering? You said I would always be welcome at the Edwards Ranch. Bridget's voice was soft with emotion. You could not have known then that I would end up staying, that I would become part of your family. But you opened your home and your heart to a stranger, and it changed my life. It changed both our lives, Declan corrected, pressing a kiss to the top of her head. And I would do it again in a heartbeat. Every choice, every moment, all of it led me to you. They drifted off to sleep wrapped in each other's arms, content and complete. The years continued to pass, bringing both joys and challenges. The ranch weathered droughts and good years, hard winters and bountiful summers. Declan and Bridget grew older together, their love deepening with each passing season. They added one more daughter to their family in 1891, a red-haired spitfire they named Rose, who kept everyone on their toes from the moment she could walk. Will grew into a strong, capable young man who loved the ranch as much as his father did. Grace showed an early interest in medicine, following her mother on rounds and begging to help with every medical case that came through. Henry proved to have a gift with horses, able to calm even the most fractious animals. And Rose, well, Rose was determined to do everything her older siblings did, only faster and louder. Lily's family continued to visit regularly, and Thomas grew close to his cousins, spending more time at the ranch as he got older. He eventually took a job as Declan's foreman when Jake retired, bringing the family even closer together. Dr. Morrison passed away peacefully in his sleep in 1893, and Bridget took over the medical practice entirely. She hired a young doctor fresh from medical school to help her, a quiet woman named Sarah who reminded Bridget of herself at that age. Together, they expanded the clinic at the ranch into a proper facility, serving an ever-growing number of patients. On their 10th wedding anniversary, Declan surprised Bridget with a trip to San Francisco. They left the children in Maria's capable care and took the train to the city, staying in a fine hotel and visiting all the places Bridget remembered from her childhood. As they walked through the streets where she had grown up, Bridget leaned heavily on Declan's arm. "It is so strange being back here," she said, watching the crowds rush past. "I used to think this was the center of the universe, that nothing existed beyond these streets. Now it just feels crowded and loud. Do you miss it?" Declan asked, though he thought he knew the answer. "Not even a little bit." Bridget smiled up at him. "My universe is back on the ranch with you and the children. This is just a city, but that is home." They attended the opera and ate in fancy restaurants, played tourist, and enjoyed the novelty of being alone together without children or responsibilities. But by the third day, they were both ready to go home, missing the wide open spaces and the sound of their children's voices. When they returned to the ranch, their children rushed to meet them, all talking at once about everything that had happened while they were gone. Declan scooped Rose up in his arms while Will and Grace competed to tell their stories first, and Henry hung back shyly until Bridget pulled him into a hug. "Did you have fun?" Will asked. "Was San Francisco as big as they say?" "Bigger," Declan confirmed, "but not nearly as nice as home. We missed you all terribly." That night, after the children were in bed and the house was quiet, Declan and Bridget sat on the porch in their usual spot. The stars were brilliant overhead, and a gentle breeze carried the scent of sage and wildflowers. 10 years, Bridget mused. "Has it really been 10 years since we got married?" 10 years since we made it official, Declan corrected. "But I think I started loving you that very first day when you turned around in the doctor's office with such calm certainty and told me you could help my sister. You were magnificent." "I was terrified," Bridget admitted, "but I could not let you see it. You needed someone to be strong, so I was strong. You are always strong. It is one of the million things I love about you." Declan pulled a small box from his pocket and handed it to her. "Happy anniversary." Bridget opened the box to find a delicate gold locket engraved with flowers. Inside were tiny photographs of their 4 children, each face captured in perfect detail. Her eyes filled with tears as she looked up at Declan. "It is beautiful," she whispered. "Perfect. Help me put it on." Declan fastened the locket around her neck, then kissed the spot where it lay against her skin. "I wanted you to have something that reminded you of all we have built together. Our family, our life, all of it because you walked into that office 7 years ago and agreed to help a desperate cowboy." "Best decision I ever made," Bridget said, touching the locket reverently. "Well, second best. The best was saying yes when you asked me to marry you. Third best was agreeing to stay at the ranch after Thomas was born," Declan pointed out with a grin. "All right, I have made several excellent decisions where you are concerned." Bridget laughed, the sound pure joy, "and I would make every one of them again without hesitation." They sat together in comfortable silence, listening to the night sounds of the ranch. Somewhere in the distance, a coyote howled, and one of the horses whinnied in response. The wind rustled through the cottonwood trees that shaded the house, and crickets sang their endless song. "What do you think the children will do when they are grown?" Bridget asked after a while. "Will they stay on the ranch or go out into the world?" Will stay, I think. He has ranching in his blood." Declan considered. "Grace will probably be a doctor, hopefully right here where we can see her regularly. Henry might breed horses, and Rose, well, Rose will probably do something completely unexpected that we never saw coming. As long as they are happy and healthy, I do not care what they do," Bridget said. "Though I confess I hope at least some of them stay close. I cannot imagine this house without children in it. By the time they are all grown, we will probably have grandchildren running around," Declan pointed out. "This ranch will never be quiet." "Good." Bridget snuggled closer to him. "I like it noisy and full of life." As if on cue, they heard a wail from inside the house. Rose having a nightmare. Bridget started to rise, but Declan stopped her. "I will get her. You have been on your feet all day treating patients. Rest." He went inside and climbed the stairs to Rose's room, where their youngest daughter sat up in bed crying. "Papa, there was a scary shadow. Just a dream, rosy girl." Declan sat on the edge of the bed and gathered her into his arms. "Nothing in this house can hurt you. Mama and I would never let anything bad happen to you. Promise." Rose's voice was small and scared. "I promise." Declan rocked her gently. "Do you want me to tell you a story?" Rose nodded against his chest, and Declan began the tale he had told all his children at one time or another, the story of how their parents met. He told it simply, appropriate for a 4-year-old, about a cowboy who needed help and a brave lady doctor who rode to the rescue. "And then what happened?" Rose asked when he paused. "And then the lady doctor saved the baby, and she was so wonderful that the cowboy fell in love with her. They got married and had 4 beautiful children, and they all lived happily on the ranch together. Like a fairy tale." Rose's eyes were already drooping. Better than a fairy tale because it is real. Declan tucked her back under the covers and kissed her forehead. "Now go to sleep, Rosie. Tomorrow we will go see if any of the chickens laid eggs, and you can help me collect them." By the time he made it back to the porch, Rose was asleep again, and Bridget was smiling at him with such love it made his heart ache. "You are a good father," she said as he reclaimed his seat beside her. "I love watching you with the children. You are so patient and gentle with them." "I learned from the best," Declan said, taking her hand. "You are an amazing mother, Bridget. Our children are lucky to have you. They are lucky to have both of us." Bridget laced her fingers through his. "We make a good team, you and I, the best team." Declan raised her hand to his lips and kissed her knuckles. "I love you, Bridget Edwards. More than the sky is wide, more than the stars are numerous, more than I have breath to tell you. I love you too, Declan, always and forever." They sat together until the moon rose high overhead, talking and dreaming about the future, secure in the love they had built and the life they shared. When they finally went to bed, they lay in each other's arms, grateful for every moment that had led them to this place. The years rolled on, bringing new adventures and challenges. The children grew and changed, finding their own paths in life. Will did indeed take over much of the ranch work, showing the same dedication and skill his father had. Grace attended medical school, one of the few women in her class, and returned to work alongside her mother at the clinic. Henry started a successful horse breeding program that gained recognition throughout California. And Rose surprised everyone by falling in love with teaching, opening a small school on the ranch for the children of neighboring homesteads. As Declan and Bridget moved into their 50s, they began to slow down, letting their children take on more responsibility. But they never stopped working together, never stopped supporting each other through every triumph and setback. Their love, tested by time and hardship, only grew stronger. One summer evening in 1909, nearly 27 years after their first meeting, Declan and Bridget sat on the porch watching their grandchildren play in the yard. Will and his wife had 3 children, Grace had 2, and Henry's wife was expecting their first. The house was fuller and noisier than ever, echoing with the sounds of family. "You remember that day?" Bridget asked, her hand in Declan's as always. Her hair was silver now, her face lined with the marks of a life well lived, but her green eyes were as bright as ever. "Which day?" Declan asked, though he knew. They had this conversation regularly, revisiting the moment their lives had changed forever. "The day you rode into town desperate for a midwife. The day I delivered Thomas and started down the path that led me here to you, to all of this." Bridget gestured at the yard full of children, the house they had filled with love, the land they had tended together. "I remember every detail," Declan confirmed. His own hair was white, his body marked by years of hard work, but his love for this woman had not diminished one iota. "I remember being terrified, thinking I was going to lose Lily and the baby. And then you turned around and looked at me with such confidence, and I knew everything was going to be all right." "You could not have known that," Bridget protested with a laugh. "I might have been a terrible midwife." "But you were not. You were perfect, and you have been perfect every day since." Declan squeezed her hand gently. "Thank you for staying, Bridget. Thank you for building this life with me." "Thank you for giving me a reason to stay," Bridget replied, her voice thick with emotion. "I was so lost when I came to San Andreas, so alone. You gave me everything: a home, a family, a purpose. You made me whole again." "We made each other whole," Declan corrected, pulling her close. "Two broken pieces that fit together perfectly." As the sun set over the California hills, painting the sky in shades of rose and gold, Declan and Bridget Edwards sat together, surrounded by the family they had created, the life they had built, and the love that had sustained them through nearly 3 decades. The ranch sprawled around them, prosperous and thriving, a testament to hard work and dedication. But more than that, it was a home filled with laughter and love and the promise of generations to come. "No regrets?" Declan asked softly. "Not a single one," Bridget replied, turning to kiss him with all the passion and tenderness of their youth. "Every moment has been worth it. Every struggle, every triumph, all of it brought us here. And here is exactly where I want to be." "Always," Declan murmured against her lips. "Always," Bridget promised. "From that first desperate ride to this moment and beyond. Always and forever, Declan Edwards. That is my vow to you." They sat together as darkness fell, watching the stars emerge one by one, listening to their grandchildren's laughter and feeling the deep contentment of a life lived fully and loved completely. The ranch would continue long after they were gone, passed down through generations, but the love story that had started with a cowboy's desperate ride and a midwife's brave decision would endure as well, woven into the very fabric of the land they loved. In the house behind them, Maria was teaching Rose's daughter how to make tortillas, the family recipe passed down through the years. Will was showing his oldest son how to read the ranch's account books, preparing the next generation to take over. Grace was telling her children about delivering babies and saving lives, inspiring them with stories of their grandmother's courage and skill. And Henry was in the barn with his nephew, teaching the boy how to gentle a fractious horse with patience and kindness. This was the legacy Declan and Bridget had built together, not just land and cattle and prosperity, but family and love and traditions that would echo through time. They had started with nothing but fear and hope, a desperate need and a courageous response, and they had built a dynasty of the heart. As Declan held his wife close under the vast California sky, he thought about the young man he had been, riding hell bent for town with panic clawing at his chest. He thought about the woman who had turned to face him with calm green eyes and capable hands, promising help when he needed it most. And he thought about all the days and years that had followed, each one a gift, each moment precious. "Thank you," he whispered into Bridget's silver hair, "for everything. For saving Lily and Thomas, for staying at the ranch, for loving me, for giving me this beautiful life. Thank you for being exactly who you are." Bridget looked up at him, her eyes shining with tears and love. "Thank you for finding me," she whispered back. "For giving me a place to belong, for seeing me as I truly am, for loving me without reservation. Thank you for every day we have shared and every day still to come." They kissed then, a kiss full of history and promise, of passion weathered by time but never diminished. Around them, the ranch settled into night, crickets chirping and horses whickering softly in the barn. Their grandchildren were called inside for bed, protesting sleepily as they were herded by loving parents. Lights appeared in windows throughout the house, golden squares against the darkness. "Ready to go in?" Declan asked eventually. "In a minute," Bridget replied, unwilling to break the spell of the perfect evening. "I want to remember this moment, this feeling of complete contentment. We have been blessed, Declan, so incredibly blessed." "We have," he agreed. "And we will continue to be blessed, for as many days as we are given." They sat a while longer, two people who had found each other against all odds, who had built something lasting and true from a moment of crisis. When they finally went inside, It was with joined hands and grateful hearts, ready to face whatever tomorrow brought as long as they faced it together. The ranch slept around them, secure and peaceful, a testament to love and hard work and the courage to take chances. And in the master bedroom, as Declan and Bridget prepared for sleep, they moved around each other with the easy familiarity of decades, comfortable and content in the life they had created. "I love you," Bridget said as they settled into bed, the words as natural as breathing. "I love you too," Declan replied, pulling her close. "Today, tomorrow, and always. You are my heart, Bridget Edwards, and you always will be." They drifted off to sleep wrapped in each other's arms, dreaming of all the tomorrows still to come, secure in the knowledge that whatever life brought, they would face it together as they always had. And if their story had started with a desperate cowboy needing a midwife for his sister, it had transformed into something far more beautiful. A love story for the ages, set against the wild backdrop of the California frontier, proof that sometimes the best things in life come from the moments when we need help the most, and have the courage to accept it when it is offered. The Edwards Ranch would stand for generations, a symbol of what could be built when two people found each other and chose to stay, to work, to love through all the challenges life threw their way. And though Declan and Bridget could not know how many more years they would be given, they knew that every single day was a gift to be treasured, every moment together precious beyond measure. In the morning, they would wake and begin again, tending to family and ranch and medical practice, living the life they had chosen and built together. But for now they slept peacefully, two souls perfectly matched, their love story complete and enduring, a bright flame that would never be extinguished by time or distance or anything else the world could throw at them. They had found each other, had chosen each other, and that choice had made all the difference. The cowboy who needed a midwife for his sister had found not just help for his family, but his soulmate, his partner, his everything. And the woman who had delivered the baby had indeed never left the ranch, because she had found her home, her purpose, and her forever love all wrapped up in the man who had burst through her door with desperate eyes and a heart ready to love, even if he had not known it yet. Their story was one of courage and commitment, of taking chances and following hearts, of building something lasting in a hard land with nothing but determination and love to sustain them. It was a story worth telling, worth remembering, worth passing down through the generations so that their great-grandchildren and beyond would know that true love existed, that it was worth fighting for, worth sacrificing for, worth holding onto with both hands and never letting go. And as the moon tracked across the California sky and the stars wheeled overhead, the Edwards Ranch stood strong and proud, sheltering the family that had grown from one cowboy's desperate ride and one woman's brave decision to help a stranger in need. It was a testament to the power of love, the strength of family, and the beauty of a life built together, one day at a time, with hands joined and hearts aligned, ready to face whatever came next with the same courage and commitment that had brought them together in the first place.